How many of you have ever held back from sharing an idea, pursuing a dream, or simply being yourselves because you were afraid of what others might think? Afraid of criticism? Afraid of not measuring up? I know I have. And for a long time, that fear controlled my life. Fear is a powerful emotion designed to protect us. But often, it morphs into something else. The fear of judgment, the fear of not being good enough, and that fear can be crippling. For years, the fear of being criticized, of not being good enough, controlled my life. I would avoid speaking up in meetings, even when I had valuable ideas, because I was terrified of saying something stupid or being judged. I downplayed my accomplishments, convinced that someone would eventually see through me and expose me as a fraud. This was most apparent when it came to my career. I stayed in the same role for a long time, even though there were opportunities for promotion. Looking back, I realized this fear stemmed from a few things: a deep-seated need for external validation, a history of high expectations, and a tendency to compare myself to others. I had built a narrative that told me that my value was dependent on how I was perceived by others. The cost was immense. I missed out on opportunities, stifled my creativity, and lived in a constant state of anxiety. I was living a life that wasn't mine, dictated by fear of judgment. Acknowledging this fear was the first step to breaking free from it. The next step was learning to challenge those deeply ingrained beliefs. The biggest breakthrough came when I started practicing self-compassion. I realized that I was being far harder on myself than I would ever be on a friend. I started treating myself with the same kindness and understanding. I learned to reframe criticism in a few key ways. First, I recognized that not all criticism is valid. Some of it is simply a reflection of someone else's insecurities or biases. Second, I started viewing constructive criticism as an opportunity to learn and grow, rather than a personal attack. Even negative criticism holds valuable insight if you look hard enough. I started asking myself, is this criticism accurate, and is it helpful? If the answer to either of those questions was no, I learned to let it go. I also learned to focus on my strengths rather than dwelling on my weaknesses. I started celebrating my accomplishments, no matter how small, and reminding myself of all the things I was good at. The first time I spoke up in a meeting and shared an idea without censoring myself, I was terrified. But the positive response I received was incredibly validating. It was a small win, but it gave me the confidence to keep pushing myself. These mindset shifts laid the foundation for action. I started small, sharing my work with trusted friends and colleagues and asking for honest feedback. It was intimidating initially, but with repetition, it became easier. Eventually, I began posting online, in forums and on social media. The criticism stung at the beginning, but over time I developed a thicker skin and learned to view it simply as what it was: opinions. And opinions aren't facts. I made a conscious effort to surround myself with people who believed in me, people who encouraged me to take risks rather than play it safe. I also sought out a mentor who had walked a similar path and could offer honest wisdom and guidance. Along the way, I learned to let go of perfectionism. I realized that mistakes aren't signs of failure, they're part of the journey. Failure isn't the opposite of success, it's one of the steps toward it. I may never be perfect, but I can still be great. Overcoming the fear of criticism doesn't mean becoming bulletproof, it means becoming brave. It means trusting yourself enough to move forward even when doubt whispers in your ear. So if any part of my story feels familiar, let this be your invitation. Don't wait for confidence to arrive fully formed. Build it one small act of courage at a time. Share an idea. Speak your truth. Take the risk your heart keeps nudging you toward. Not because you're unafraid, but because you're ready to grow beyond your fear. The world doesn't need your perfection, it needs your presence. And the moment you stop hiding, you don't just change your own life, you give others permission to rise with you.